What's good, everybody? It's your boy Dominic here, aka Dom the Cyber Genius, and I'm coming with you guys with another video. This time it is a Tryhackme room, baby. Let's go. This one is going to be on pen testing fundamentals. I'm going to go over kind of what pen testing is, the ethics, the methodologies, and there's also a little practical, a little practice pen test that we can do. Now let's get it started. Hey everybody, this is Dominic back at it again. This time we're going to be doing Tryhackme, and we're going to get started with the pen testing fundamentals. So I kind of wanted to do this room just so I can explain to you guys what pen testing kind of is, the methodologies, the ethics, and what really goes into it, because I feel like a lot of people that want to join into cybersecurity want to be on red team, and they kind of don't really know what pen testing is. They just think it's hacking, but there's a lot more stuff to that. So I just kind of wanted to be able to explain it. I don't want to say in a better way than Tryhackme, but I guess a little bit more informative to where you can actually understand what's going on. Because I know sometimes Tryhackme has a lot of things where it's a lot of info, so it's kind of hard to take in just reading pages on pages on pages. So I just wanted to kind of help you guys with that. So anyway, as we're getting started, so you would think, what is kind of penetration testing? I want to kind of think of this as, it could be an authorized cyber security audit. I think of it as an authorized cyber security attack. So I think of this as, when an ethical hacker is paid by a company or is allowed by a company to basically hack their systems or hack their networks to see if there's any vulnerabilities. They do it, in real time. There's different scopes of things that are put into it, but basically the ethical hacker or the hacker that was kind of, paid by the company is put to the test, and they basically hack in and try to break the company's system, see what vulnerabilities they can find, and then they try to work with the company to help patch those. So it's kind of a real-time assessment, and it's really actually cool and fun when you actually get to break stuff and figure out what things work, what things don't, where the vulnerabilities at, because a lot of these vulnerabilities are happening day in and day out, and we need to kind of put a stop to this. But also the companies need to be aware of what vulnerabilities they have, and actually in real time, and what vulnerabilities on their system they can see real time, and actually when things are operating could be seen. So by penetration testers, they're able to help with that. And another thing, how it kind of says here at the bottom, where it says, according to Security Magazine, cybersecurity industry magazine, there are over 2,200 cyber attacks every day, one attack every 39 seconds. This, I don't want to say it's false, but it's a little outdated. The actual news stat, I believe Terry Cutler posted it on his LinkedIn a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks ago, actually a couple of days ago. But the new updated stat is that an attack or cyber hackers and cybersecurity, cyber criminals launch attacks every 39 seconds. So that's the same, which is an average of 2,244 times per day. So it's a little bit more up, still the same amount of seconds, but it's a little bit more up. And I believe it's with more than 8 billion records confirmed to be compromised in the last year alone. So over 8 billion people or authorities or companies have been breached, like billions. Like, that is crazy to think about. And that's probably as much as, or at least there's been 8 billion records saying somebody or something has been breached. Dude, that's almost as much as the whole planet's population, if you think about it. So this is why cybersecurity is needed worldwide. And this is why having cybersecurity is a very, very, very good asset, or great asset. It's non-disposable. And if you really put the work in and secure your space, or you secure your time in here, you can really secure your freedom and change your life. But anyway, that was just a little sidebar. Now we're kind of getting more into what penetration testing is, and the ethics behind that. So we're going to the next one. So you just click question down, but just for the sake of it, I'll go through this with you guys together. So I'll reset my progress real quick. Give me a second. All right, boom, completed. Now we're going to be going through kind of the ethics of penetration testing, right? So this is going to be like the legal things, and actually I guess the legality and ethics of, cybersecurity, penetration testing, how people always say, it's controversial. Sorry for butchering that word earlier, but people are always saying that, penetration testing is either controversial. There's always some misconceptions about it. They're always saying it's just hacking or hackers or things like that, or there's negative things put around it. But in reality, it's really helpful for companies because companies can kind of see, in real time, their actual systems working, what vulnerabilities can happen and what they can do. So penetration testers will actually go through with some of these attacks and executions. And then, they find a really big security breach. They'll stop the penetration test in the middle of it. And, they'll inform the client or they'll inform, the company about it. And then that company will then start working towards actually putting or resolving the incident. But as far as that, there is some legal issues, or not issues, but legal things or actions that have to take place before the penetration test even starts, right? A formal discussion has to occur between the penetration tester and the system owner or the client. Within that discussion, they would obviously going to be talking about different tools, techniques, systems, and what's going to actually be tested on, right? So this is kind of the legal agreement, and this is what allows an ethical hacker to, or ethical, I guess you could say hacker, but ethical or white hat hacker to actually, go through with it and actually hack the person's system, right? Because there's been a lot of people, a lot of incidents where if that's not signed, the ethical hacker can get into real danger and possibly even face jail time just because of it. That's how serious cybersecurity is, and this type of pen test is. Also, there's different companies, right? So there's going to be companies that are going to be offering different penetration testing services. Kind of, it's a little entrepreneurial-ish, right? In that sense. And obviously, those people are held to different legal frameworks and industry. I don't want to say recommendations, but industries, I guess, standards, as you could put it that way. Some of them, some popular ones, I would say below the National Cybersecurity Center, as well as I believe there's some other ones that are actually pretty good as well. And just to go into it a little bit more, ethics is a moral debate between right and wrong. This action may be, legal, and it may go against the individual's belief systems of right or wrong. So depending on, that's kind of what the ethics are behind the penetration testing. If the two parties agree, then it's on. From the outside looking in, if you're on the outside, people are just going to say, oh, he's just hacking. But the people that are really engaged and are in it to win it and are on ground or on their feet every day, doing the work, putting it in, they're going to realize that penetration tests actually help. And they get paid, sorry, excuse my language, and they get paid hella money too, which is cool too. But besides that, we went over the ethics, kind of what penetration testing is, the ethics behind it, kind of how the people look at it, and what actually has to go into the pen test before it even starts, for it to even happen. But before I go into the rule of engagement and that really important document, I do want to clarify the different types of hackers, because there is a misconception out here that all hackers are bad, all hackers suck, or our hackers are just out to hurt people or harm systems. In reality, that's not the case. There's, there's three categories of hackers. One of them is very malicious. The other one is semi-malicious, but they don't do it kind of for malicious purposes. And then the other one isn't, malicious. So the white hat hacker, these are kind of be considered the good people, the good hackers, right? They're going to use their tools and skill sets to help benefit others as well as companies. So they're going to be the ones hacking into companies. They're going to be the penetration testers. They're going to be the ones that are authorized to do so, as well as help other people do the same. Gray hat hackers, they're a mix between black hat and white hat. They're not as far as malicious. They don't do their hacking for malicious purposes, right? But they will hack without signing any paperwork or any legal engagements, if you want to put it that way. So they'll hack into somebody's system without the system owner allowing them to do that. And these people, basically, for example, you could say they want to take down scamming sites and things like that. And then as far as that, the next one is going to be the black hat. This is the malicious dude. This is the bad guy. This is the bad guy. This is, sorry for the break. I may just have to cut that and edit that out, but that was just my brother talking. But as far as what I was ending with, it was the black hat hacker. These are the malicious threat actors. These are people that conduct ransomware attacks, different types of attacks, executing malicious codes. These are going to be the people that seek damage on organizations, as well as, trying to take money for them and doing other malicious things to an organization to hurt their stock, hurt their economy within the organization, as well as breach their infrastructure and do what they can to destroy their data. As far as that, now we got through, the hackers and the different types of hackers, right? So now going back to penetration testing, there is the document that needs to be signed before it's even, conducted, and that's the rule of engagement. So the ROE, or, rule of engagement, this document, was created in the beginning stages, the beginning steps of a pen test engagement. This document is gonna contain pretty much three main things, or three main sections that go down in a pen test, right? Those are gonna be permission, test scope, rules. And those three things are gonna be what's decided on how the engagement goes, right? So if it's depending on the company, not every pen test will never be the same. Every company is different. So depending on how big or small the company is, that's going to determine what is it, or how the engagement is going to go. So going for permission. So permission, this document's going to go over like what permissions the threat, or not threat actor, but what permissions the ethical hacker is allowed to do, the white hat hacker, right? Is what they're allowed to carry out. This is put in place just for legal reasons, right? This protects the individuals and organizations for the activities they carry out, right? So this is just them allowing them, saying, hey, white hacker A, you're allowed to do this. So we're both sign this permission section, or this permission document within the ROE, and this is what allowed you to do it. Now it kind of gets more into the testing, right? So the test scope. So this document was kind of created to put into terms or annotate the specific things and targets within the network that the white hat hacker can actually do, right? So how they say, for an example, maybe they only want the white hat hacker to apply certain things to certain servers or certain applications, but maybe not the whole entire network. So the test scope is what the threat actor is allowed to actually, or not even threat actor. I'm tripping. I'll be watching too much or reading too much cybersecurity articles every day to where I'm just so used to threat actors. But what is it? So what basically is going to allow what the white hat hacker can actually test, right? So this is what the variety they're able to do. Maybe they're only allowed to do the whole network. Maybe they're only allowed to do one application. So that determines it. And then the rules. So the white hat hacker or the ethical hacker already has permission. They already have the test scope, so they know what parts of the network or the network they're doing. They already know what they're allowed to actually attack. And then the rules are put in place to, when they're attacking that specific scope or that specific network or application, these are kind of the rules that they can actually do within that. So these are the techniques and the tools that are allowed or permitted during the engagement. Right. So some of them, how they say, for example, they'll be like, yeah, we don't want you to do phishing attacks or use certain tools, but man in the middle attacks are okay, right? So this is kind of the issue, or I guess the rules that are put in place. So overall, the ROE, very important. It needs to be signed in the beginning. If not, then really both parties can most likely get in trouble. So now, as far as the questions below, you are saying you are given permission to perform a security audit on an organization. What type of hacker are you? If you remember, the other two hackers, the gray hat and black hat, those hackers, the gray hat is a mixture of both, right? So gray hat, they hack into company systems, but they're not authorized to. They don't get the permission, right? So that's still illegal. So that's still an illegal state, but they're not doing it for malicious purposes. They may be taking stuff down or trying to get scam sites down, whereas a black hat hacker is straight malicious. But if you see here, it's saying giving permission that to the security audit. So this would be white hat. And Tryhackme is pretty cool. They even give you hints too. So even says, look at the hat categories in this task. Boom. So you can go here, white hat. Bayao. Here, you attack an organization and steal their data. What type of hacker would you be? This is straight malicious status. Yo, I just said it. You look at it again, black hat. I try to sometimes, what I do with these rooms is I'll take notes and I'll just read it first, read all through it first, take notes, and then start, trying to memorize or see what terms and things are going on and trying to memorize and learn those. And then I also, just take notes. And then sometimes I try to answer the questions without looking back at the notes just to see if I remember. This one is black hat. And the last one, obviously, what document defines how a penetration test engagement should be carried out? If you remember, before a pen test even starts, there's legal things and legal allegations that have to go through. And the document that needs to be signed for the pen test to be even allowed and carried out is ROE. What is it? Rule of engagement. Okay, oops, I accidentally put a slash, but took it anyway. Huh. All right, this one, not going to go through all of it, but this is kind of the methodologies, right? So this is going to be the steps of what the penetration tester is going to do. So if you've seen the cyber kill chain before, it kind of talks about, this or kind of uses some of those techniques, right? And then puts it kind of into its own way, but it kind of shortens it down a little bit. But within the actual pen test, the penetration testers are going to have a wide variety of objectives and targets that they have to do within, the scope of what they're allowed to actually do. So this is why I was saying earlier, no pen test is ever going to really be the same, right? So there's no one case fits all because all companies are different, right? So how I was saying earlier, the methodologies, those are just the steps the pen testers take during the actual engagement, right? So like anything, you want to prepare, you want to have, different things in place and notes that you're actually going to do when it comes to, conducting and carrying out this penetration test. So just to get into some of those methodologies, these are kind of the stages of it. So information gathering, enumeration, exploitation, privilege escalation, post to exploitation, right? So the first one, information gathering. This is also known as reconnaissance. So this is what the this is what the penetration tester is going to do, right? So they're going to gather information about the system, the network. This can be from them actually being in the network, right? So this can be put into two groups. So passive reconnaissance, active reconnaissance, right? So passive reconnaissance is the user is gathering information about a network or system, but they're not doing it actually within the network. So like they're basically not scanning the network to get the information, right? Or they're not inside of the network to get the information. They're doing this outside before they even start scanning the network. So this can be done through OSINT, looking through social media, seeing if anybody's posting anything, seeing if any databases are open, seeing if you can log into websites seeing if you can maybe do SQL injections, maybe seeing if you can log into certain websites with different passwords, see if passwords are actually in the open and not encrypted, when that's a big no-no. Next step is going to be you're kind of actually on the engagement, right? Or you're scanning now. So enumeration is just another fancy word for saying scanning the network. So don't let that, it confuse you. They're the same thing. They're just a different way to, say it. But this is when the penetration tester is going to start discovering applications and services running on the systems, right? So this is when they're going to be trying to find things or find servers that are potentially vulnerable. So with this can be done with Nmap. So Nmap's a really good tool that a lot of penetration testers and even hackers use to scan a network. So what that does is kind of shows what protocols it is. So maybe it's SSH, maybe it's HTTPS, so maybe a site is up, right? That's open. It shows if the port's open, closed, filtered. It also shows the program that's running on that. And then you can get the services and versions. Right? So say if you have an app, so just for an example, say if you have, an Apache server that's open and you want to know that and if you did your studying, you know, okay, he has an Apache server open, but he has version 7.5. And if you knew that maybe 7.5 had a remote code execution vulnerability or some other vulnerability, then you can kind of track that. And then that's what you're going to use when you're in the exploitation stage. So that's why I kind of knowing the services is important, because some services may still be outdated or they're not patched or encrypted. So that what allows an attacker to get in, kind of like slide their way in. And that's what allowed the penetration tester to kind of exploit those potentially vulnerable services or networks. Ooh. Next one is going to be exploitation. So this is after the penetration tester actually found the vulnerabilities. So they're going to be leveraging them, discovered on the system or application. So they're going to be exploiting them, actually, running those vulnerabilities, running commands against it to exploit those vulnerabilities. Maybe it allows them to remotely get into a root account via SSH, right? So it's different things that can actually, happen. A lot of people can use public exploits or exploiting the application logic to exploit these vulnerabilities. I know Metasploit's a good one. That's like the big daddy of them all, that has a database of all the common exploits. Next one is going to be privilege escalation. So privilege escalation is going to be, privileges, right? So if you think about it in real human terms, it would be like, you have the privilege to go out and play basketball, right? Or, the principal has the biggest privilege in the school because they're the principal, right? So they have the highest power in the school. So that's privilege. So as an attacker, or if you're getting in that attacker mindset, right, you would think that the attacker's trying to get admin accounts, they're trying to get root accounts. Those accounts have higher privileges. Higher privileges allow them to run more commands, run more things, as well as have more access to sensitive data. And that's all these threat actors want. But that's kind of what, the penetration tester would do with this section. So, that's after they would basically get privilege escalation after they've successfully exploited a system or application. So that's also known as a foothold. That could be trying to maintain your foothold. After you gain access to an account, right, you're going to try to move horizontally and vertically through the network. This is also kind of known as pivoting, using one affected system to kind of as a launch pad to others to see if you can go to affect the other ones. So it's kind of like connecting the dots, if you want to put it that way. And then the last one, this is just post exploitation. So like I was saying earlier, this kind of is what, after you've exploited the vulnerabilities, what you're doing next, right? So what are the other hosts can be targeted? So that's pivoting, using that initial infected host or device or network and trying to bounce around and see if you can find anything else, or that allows you to get into any other accounts or other networks that you shouldn't be able to. Also, being able to gather any additional information from the host, right? Since now you're a privileged user, and then you're going to be covering your track. So basically making it to where it looked like you didn't even do anything, right? So this would be exfiltrating the data. This will be usually in an attack, a threat actor will have a C2 channel, command and control channel, that allows them to relay commands to the affected device, as well as exfiltrate the data out of the network without being caught. And then the last one, which is probably, if not the most important thing besides the actual test itself, is reporting, right? So when you're reporting, this is kind of going over what you did, summary of what you did, what information you were able to get, vulnerabilities that you found, what the company or client needs to do to fix those vulnerabilities, right? So this is the most important. You may not always be blessed with somebody that's super technical, right? So they may not know what a dang privilege escalation is or remote code execution is. So you being able to explain that and put it into good terms, as well as having a neat and crisp report, that is just going to make it so much better. But, I've heard this quote a lot, excuse my French, but if you can't make a report and you can't have the report to a point where the person, I don't want to say duplicated, but at least the person can understand what's going on and really know their network and start fixing it. If you can't get it to that level and where it's really, really neat and detailed, then you're a shitty pen tester. That's it. I've heard many people say it. I've heard John Heyman say it. I've heard a couple dudes from THM security say it. If you cannot write a good report and then showcase it and really explain it to the not the sales team, the security team, or a different type of team, or the CISO, right? Then you're a shitty reporter. I mean, you're a shitty pen tester, right? So it doesn't really matter how good of a pen tester you are and how you're able to use different hacking tools. If you can't report it and write it down and tell somebody, hey, this is what happened, then you're no good. Besides that, getting into this, now these are kind of just like, these are the different manuals, I would say, or frameworks that are put together. So these frameworks kind of have different things that penetration testers will go by, as well as what is going on kind of in the cybersecurity world. So a lot of them go over ways to, or different strategies on how to actually test networks, test telecommunications, right? Testing systems, as well as giving you information about maybe the web application, top 10 web application most vulnerable things, right? Or vulnerabilities within a web application, right? So the top 10, that's really what OWASP is for. So I don't want to really kind of read through all of it because it's going to take a while, but these are kind of the main ones that, you're going to see are the different frameworks that a lot of security teams go off of, as well as penetration testers go off of when it comes to actually testing the network that they're attacking. So now, right, so if we go to the first one, what stage of penetration testing involves using publicly available information? So this one, right, so what stage? So this is going to be most likely the beginning stage, right? Because you haven't done any exploitation yet. So you're gathering public available information. So this is reconnaissance, right? But they don't have it as that. So if you scroll back up, I just try to do it because I have a pretty good memory, so I could kind of remember it. And I've already did this box. But if you look at it, information gathering, the state involves collecting publicly accessible information, collecting info. So that's what you would put for the first one. Now, second one, if you want to use a framework for pen testing telecommunications, what framework would you use? Kind of didn't go over all these frameworks, but they're pretty long, so I would advise you to just read them and do your extra resources or research on them. But if you do scroll up, I remember it was the open source security testing methodology manual. So this framework kind of, has different testing strategies on when a penetration tester is, doing things to systems, software, communications. A lot of the methodologies and stages focus on these primary systems. So look at that, telecommunication. So they wanted to read the abbreviation. So OS TTM. So we can just copy it. Boom. Bang. Right. So now what framework focuses on testing web applications? They also want the acronym for it. So I believe that one is, give me one second. That one's probably either NIST or OWASP. Let me see. There we go. OWASP. Here we go. So this one kind of breaks down this is OWASP, so Open Web Application Security Project. This framework is kind of put together. It's more of a community-driven thing where it's active and people from the actual cybersecurity community add to it, right? So it's frequently updated as they, say, and it kind of goes over the sole testing of different web application services. So it's going to tell you the top 10. There's an OWASP top 10, and that top 10 basically goes over the top 10 vulnerabilities when it comes to web applications. Boom. Almost done, y'all, I promise. Sorry for it being so long. Now, these are kind of I would say, scopes of it, right? So we remember from the beginning, when it comes to the test scope, right? This is what the information, right? Or this is what the penetration tester is allowed to attack, right? So maybe they're only giving something, maybe they're only giving IPs, maybe they were giving full access to the network, right? Maybe they were only given lists of emails and they want to see if you can come up with a phishing site to scan to see if people will actually click on it. So these are kind of the different scopes, right? So depending, I guess, on the level of the hacker and how big the company is, the amount of knowledge that they'll actually give you or information. So you can kind of see, like black box, this is kind of something like they'll maybe just give you IPs or something. and you just kind of figure it out on your own and see how far you can get, right? Because they're giving you little to no information. Partial knowledge is a lot more information, and then full knowledge is kind of giving you a good amount or a good chunk of information. So starting with black box testing, they're all going to be kind of high level, but this is kind of besides white box testing, but black box testing is probably the most high level process out of the three. Not really any little to no information is given out about the network, right? When the client or company is allowing you to actually do the pen test, right? So companies are going to give you information when you're doing a pen test, right? They may give you IPs, they may give you certain things to target, right? So that's kind of what the test scope is, what you're actually allowed to target and what they want you to target, right? But sometimes when you're targeting that, maybe when you're targeting a specific scope, maybe you were able to target that scope and then that scope allowed you to pivot into something where maybe you're not allowed, but that other thing or that other system got breached. So then at that point you would stop and then work with their security team. Right, but kind of, I guess what this says, it was kind of saying this is kind of them being a regular user, so they maybe give them privilege as a baby user. I kind of like it. So it's a regular user, nobody that has high levels of privileges, and it's kind of their job to interact with different things to see what they can get. So no, it's also saying like no knowledge of programming or understanding of programs is necessary for this type of testing. So basically, they're saying like you don't need to know programming and coding like that for this. And then they're also saying that even though you're given no knowledge, this is it increases the amount of time spent during, information gathering because you have to gather more information since you don't have that much, as well as the enumeration phase when you're scanning the actual network. Next one is gray box testing. It's kind of like gray hat hacker. It's in the middle of a white box and black box testing scope. It's the most popular out of the three. It's a combination of both of them. The tester's given limited knowledge of the network and whatever components make up of that system or application. It's still interacting, kind of with the application as if it were a black box scenario, but the knowledge of the application is a little bit more, right? So, right, with the gray box, it saves time because you have a little bit more knowledge. So maybe, you have names or you have emails or you have, I don't want to say maybe passwords, but the different things that they may, give you. And you can always look these things up, right? I could just go somewhere and just do. Right. Obviously, it's not going to show nothing, but I guess what information, but depending on the company and depending on, the product, they'll give you different things, but you're just using Google and stuff to find other stuff. And then the last one, white box. This is somebody that has full knowledge of the network, right? This could be all things put together, IPs, emails, maybe a password to something or the names of things that they're going to be going to, right? So this is kind of the low level process. This is going to be done kind of by a software developer, somebody that doesn't maybe have as much experience when it comes to penetration testing, but they also know, programming and application logic. So they'll know like what coding and what queries need to be queried the right way or structured a certain way in order to prevent, some vulnerabilities, maybe something that prevents SQL injection, right? And this tester will be kind of testing the internal components of the application or an actual piece of software. So they're kind of giving examples. So making sure specific functions work correctly and within a reasonable amount of time. This person with the full part or the tester with the full amount of knowledge saves a lot of time and is actually the quickest, right? And or my bad, sorry. My fault. It's actually the opposite of that. So it takes as much it's much more consuming than a black box testing because what is it? The full knowledge in the white box testing scenario basically provides a testing approach that guarantees entire attack surface can be validated. Right. And obviously the person's not like security, not I want to say security savvy, but isn't on the level of a regular pen tester. So it will take longer because of that as well. And then for these two questions, you were asked to test an application but are not given access to its source code, right? So what testing process is that? And then the other one is you are asked to test a website and you were given access to the source code. So that one right off the bat would be white hat because you're giving so much information. You're giving the source code and the website, right? And I would say that would be white hat. Oops, tripping. Oh, oops, my bad. Not white hat, white box. And then this one, I believe since you're not giving nothing, right, or you're testing an application, but you don't even have the source code, I believe this one's just black box. There we go. Almost done, y'all. This one is a little interactive. So Acme, this is kind of the fake site that Tryhackme tries to use when it comes to penetration testing in different rooms and stuff. So they approach us for assignment. They want you to carry out the stage of a pen test on their infrastructure, view the site. So just click on this, view site. So this is going to go through rules of engagement. This is what I was saying earlier, what you have to sign. It's not going to be as like frugal or like basic as this, but this is kind of what, would go through. Possibly, an email, right, containing the documents. You may have to, maybe do an electronic sign or doing this in person, but that's kind of what it is, right? Giving them permission, test scope. This is kind of going over, like how I said again, what the different targets and environments the tester is allowed to test against, and then the rules. So when they're in that environment, what tools and techniques are they actually allowed to use and have access to? All right, so then we'll go click on next. So this is going to be the first step, right? Information gathering. Abby, who has a public profile on LinkedIn, advertises that she works for Acme and even includes her email in her bio, which is possibly a way we can target her work laptop and thus the company, right? So LinkedIn is a very, very, very good place to do OSINT, right? Because a lot of people have, they share their jobs, they have their photo, they show where they're actually located at, so that gives them a general connection. They may have their email, some people may even have their phone numbers, and then they also have posts, right? So some people may include posts where they're taking pictures of their desk, taking pictures outside of, a building and where they're at. So just knowing stuff like that and seeing maybe them having a certain computer model, or by the look of their screen, you can tell that they're running a certain version of a software, and that software may be vulnerable. So just trying to look through things and using things like that can help a penetration tester make things a lot easier. Then there's going to be enumeration. Promise you, it won't look this damn simple when it comes to scanning. You'll kind of have a terminal like thing like this, and you'll be running Nmap with different operators to get whatever information out of the IP address you're targeting, right? So how they're saying the goal of the stage is to get a complete picture of your target, knowing what is open, knowing the versions that are there, what applications are running on them, right? So as they were saying, this is very important as your findings are used to exploit your target system, right? So if you know what versions and systems are being ran, or for what versions of application are being ran on the system, then you'll kind of know, okay, that one may have a vulnerability. This one doesn't, but it has this vulnerability, right? So we'll just go ahead, either copy the IP address or type it in. I'm just lazy. There you go, paste, and then scan target. Right, scanning target. Boom. Now they're saying we did the vulnerability scan on this IP address. They were saying they have a web service that's vulnerable. So then we'll go to next. Right, so this is going to be exploitation. Once you find the vulnerabilities, you're going to be using things like how I said earlier, Metasploit. You'll be using things like that to exploit the target and actually get into the system. So with remote code execution, maybe you'll be able to log into somebody's computer via SSH, right? So this is getting the knowledge you knew from the enumeration process and then identifying those vulnerabilities and then exploiting them on the spot. How they said exploitation is the use of a vulnerability discovered to gain unauthorized access to an information security system or data. Promise you, it won't look this simple, won't go that fast, but it kind of looks like that with the MSF, but I promise you, they're just kind of putting it in a simple way so people can understand and get a clear picture of it, right? Next one, this is post exploitation. So this is the steps after you gain unauthorized access to a system. So this kind of be your main goal. So this will be maybe pivoting. This will be what other information or access can you get to the systems after gaining privilege escalation, right? Can you get access to higher privilege users? Can you get admin? Can you get password? What can you get? That's basically what you're kind of doing, right? And then after that, you're kind of going to be extracting that sensitive information from the system, right? So the exfiltration, so maybe a C2 channel that's going to relay the information or extract the information out of the network. So this is kind of what they're saying: low privilege user, totem pole. These are the admins, low privilege user. Boom, now we got the flag too. So this is kind of pen test report and cleaning up. So this is at the end of a penetration test, right? You're gonna have to explain your results of your engagement to the client. So what you did, how you did it, what's vulnerable, what they need to fix, right? And kind of giving them a clear picture of what their security network looks like and how they can move forward. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to help each other. We want you to be secure. Obviously, there's never such thing as 100% security, but you can always be, it's better to be over prepared than under prepared. And you always want to have your systems at least secure to the point where you want to have you want to at least have your systems secure to a very strong point to where it would be very difficult for an attacker to get into your network. And if they do, it better be a advanced persistent threat and not some bullshit script kiddie. Sorry for the language again, I had to use it, but they also said, this is the cleanup stage. So being able to kind of clean up your tracks and exfiltrate the data out of the network without, being seen or I guess found out. So being anonymous, right? And then you just at the end, just being able to write up that report that's very detailed and share it to the client. And you also want to delete any artifacts or information left behind that that was a result of your penetration testing. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go ahead and copy this. This is the flag. Obviously, in a real engagement, you're not going to have a flag, right? But the flag is to simulate sensitive information. That's what they want to do there. Boom, boom. And there you have it. You guys just completed the pen testing fundamentals room. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. When you do stuff like this, I go ahead and post it, show people what you've been doing, show people that you're active. This only helps get your name out there as well as make it easier on interviews when, you're trying to interview for that spot, baby. But besides that, that was it for my video today. Thank you for watching. This is Dom the Cyber Genius, and I'm out. Peace.